And there'll probably come a day when you look around and realize that you got a basement full of car parts and race fuel, and you wonder, why couldn't I be into lizards, botany, curling, cribbage, or some shit? And I'm back from the ECIRS, East Coast Impala Racing Club BK Open, which is Big Kahuna Open. Big Kahuna is Bill Deblasio. He's one of the founding members of ECIRS and one of the key people involved with planning a lot of these East Coast Impala Club racing as part of their bracket race series. So it's a series goes all through the Northeast, and it's bracket racing. Which is, I'm not really the best at it, but it's still fun to do, and it's still fun to get out there with a bunch of other Impala owners. So I try to make a couple of races a year. Unfortunately, this is the first one I've made this year because I've been busy with just the Challenger and making some updates on this and the Viper and the Driveway project and everything else. So I made it out to this one, and I decided last minute that I wanted to drive the car there, and I've done it before. It's about a 2-hour and like 40-minute drive through New York City traffic if you don't leave early enough, and I never leave early enough. And I can just take a still shot of the video. And it's always a little sketchy driving a car that you're going to be racing and possibly braking out there and then having to drive back through crappy New York City streets. But as you can see, the car made it back, and it's in one piece. It made through the race and made it back home with just a couple of little issues that I'm trying to figure out now. Last season, I decided that I wanted to put a 4-inch drive shaft in the car. And I know a lot of guys are saying, why would you do that? That's kind of stupid for this car. There's lots of cars doing more on 3.5-inch drive shafts, and they're probably right. But I just had this thing where I thought if I can get the speed of the drive shaft lower, I might be able to do like a half-mile race with the car at some point, because it's a 373 rear, and I didn't want the drive shaft speed getting up too high going down track if I were to do like a half-mile race, which would probably be a pretty high speed. So, and I just figured it's slower, you know, slowing down the drive shaft is never a bad thing if you have a larger drive shaft. And I usually run like a 26-inch tire when I'm trying to do like street road race, stuff like that. If I did like a half-mile race, I'd be on those tires, not these 28-inch 345s. But or my other 315s, which are also like a 29-inch. So the shorter tire is going to increase the drive shaft speed. So I just thought it would be a good idea, because the other drive shaft I had, I wasn't really happy with it. When I went from a 60E to an 80E, I brought it to my local drive shaft shop, and I brought it to another local one, and they cut down the yoke. And I really don't like that. I'd rather have them cut down the drive shaft and re-weld the tube than cut down the yoke and shorten the yoke. So I was never happy with that. So I went with this 4-inch shaft. Problem with this 4-inch shaft is the first time I had it out at Impala Nationals, I noticed that the car was pulling a lot of timing. And I couldn't figure out why I was pulling timing. AFR looked good, fuel looked good. So I ended up going under the car when I got back from Nationals, and I found out that I found these little witness marks in the drive shaft and under the tunnel where it was just barely grazing the drive shaft tunnel, and I think that was causing like a false knock. So I ended up clearancing it a little bit. I had the car out at Capitol Raceway for Cold Drag Day after I made that little bit of clearance for the drive shaft, and it worked great. The car ran 10.4, backed with like 3.10.5 passes, didn't rub at all. I ended up lowering the coil springs in the rear, the coilovers, just a little bit, because I kind of didn't like the way the car sat. It was a little too raked. It caused it to rub again. So I'll show you guys where it's rubbing now. Ooh. That's about it, but yeah, it's definitely rubbing. And you can see up here, I don't know if you can see up there, you can see the marks where it corresponds. So that's gonna be a little tricky because I don't think I could clearance this tunnel at all these points where it's rubbing now. So it comes down to either raising the car back up, which I kind of don't want to do, or swapping back to the 3.5-inch drive shaft. Got that beast of a 345 off. And in case you guys are wondering, I notched the chassis years ago when I did the build. And I also have to run a pretty thick spacer on this, but I haven't had any issues. Been running it for years now. And like I said, I've probably 100 passes on it. And I've never had any issues with the, studs bending on this or the spacer shifting. I just keep it very consistently torqued. I like to torque it down to 100 foot-pounds. Then I put it on the ground. I roll it back and forth a few times. I torque it again. Then I take it for a short drive and I torque it again. And then I check the torque before I make any passes on it. And it usually stays torqued after the first, re-torquing of rolling the car on the ground. But it can't hurt to check when you're running a spacer like that, especially on a faster car. But the ARP studs, I think, definitely also help. These are chromoly. It exceeds a grade 8. As you can see, I got everything apart on there. And I'm finding that I got it neutral right now, and I can't spin this side, this axle. And the brake does not look locked up. I can move that. So now it's either going to be possibly something with the e-brake shoes. They were a little tight when I was putting this hat on. I tried to adjust them back as far as I could, but I'm hoping it's that, but I doubt it because I think that would have rode itself down by now. So now I'm thinking there might be something wrong with the posi unit itself, but we're going to take the rotor off just to check. Hat's on backwards. That means I'm getting to work. Such a beautiful waste of money. Let me pour one out for my fallen homie. I'm glad that I didn't have to go into that rear and rebuild it again because I built that rear years ago, but I still got the scar to show. I was torquing it down, I slipped and punched one of the jagged corners of the diff inside and tore my finger open. So me and that rear have a little bit of a history, but I'm glad it's working. And for 8.5 10 bolt with just an Eaton 400-pound posi, it's definitely seen a lot of abuse. But again, I'm still not going to be surprised when it goes. Two of my friends came with me. One is Steve. He's got this beautiful GT350. And the other one is Paul. He's got Trans Am WS6 clone that I do a lot of work on with him. Long tube headers. I think it's Cook's headers or American Racing, one or the other. SLP loudmouth exhaust, 342 gears, a few other things, Watts link in the back. It's a fun car, and both of them got their personal bests. So I was pretty happy with that. That was pretty fun to watch. Both of them go down track, run mid 12s. The DA wasn't great. It was maybe 2000. But unfortunately, Paul beat Steve this time, so we'll see if there's going to be some mods coming on Steve's end or just driving a little bit harder next time. But there's a lot of other cool Impalas out there.
And then I told that chick I got a 4-inch drive shaft.